Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sakamoto Days, Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we immediately pick up with like Zhao Ting on the roller coaster being like, Shin, where are you? Where did you go? So we didn't see her for the rest of the episode after Shin jumped off the roller coaster to fight that poison dude. I think his name is Tatsu. And I was wondering where she was because when Shin and Tatsu were putting on that performance and everyone thought it was part of the show, well, their fight and everyone thought it was a performance part of the show, we only saw Sakamoto, his wife, and his daughter. Maybe Zhao Ting was there, but she definitely didn't pop up on screen. So I wonder, was she just out of commission after the roller coaster ride? Because obviously this is, in the amusement park aspect of it's kind of been a lot for her. So I wonder, was she just out of commission? But when we cut back to it, they've got him tied up and they're questioning. Well, first and foremost, we have Zhao Ting putting dropping the eye drops, which is like the antidote into Shin's eyes, and he's like, wincing in so much pain, and she's like, stop being a baby, it's just eye drops, let me do the other eye. But it's like, yeah, as a poisoner, you got to keep the antidote on you just in case you, for whatever reason, get exposed to your own poison, whether it's by accident or whether it's a situation like Zhao Ting puts him through where it's like, hey, someone might try to take your weapon and poison you. Because like he wouldn't give any information away until like Zhao Ting just so casually like squatted down, pulled out his knife and stabbed him so gently. It's like, cool. And I'm going to sit here and drip out your antidote every second you don't give us an answer. Which Shin's like, yo, I'm back here with my other eye still poisoned. You need to don't waste the antidote. But he's like, I got no allegiance to, the Dodokin Kai or whatever, the group he's with. Because I'd assume a lot of assassins are freelancers that get bought up by people. Like he's a temporary employee. So for him, it's like, I'm working with them temporarily. He says like it's a toxic work environment. They make you work jobs solo, no matter how tough it is. So he's like, I got no allegiances. It's all about self-preservation, baby. So, but he also brings up the big question I had, because it got brought up, I believe last episode, the order situation, because it's still kind of considered a myth. And I talked about it where I was like, and especially because Shin was like, the order, meaning he knows nothing about it either. And Sakamoto didn't give any away, but Tatsu's like, all right, your lack of an answer, it's kind of an answer in itself. So I was like, oh, it really does exist and you were a part of it. So in case you didn't hear it last episode, my theory about that has to be like, okay, the Order is an organization in its own that works in the shadows, and then it sends its assassins out there to work for other organizations for some other reason, but also hide the fact that they're part of the Order. It seems like an Illuminati type of thing, but I'm like, for what purpose? I don't know. Because that's what I was about to say. Like Shin and Sakamoto had to have worked for the same organization, but it could just be like they got partnered up often and they were freelancers together type of situation. Who knows? But yeah, like I said, it feels like it confirms a little bit of that theory. But even then, it's like what the Order's purposes are for hiding in the shadows, allowing themselves to be myths, and why Sakamoto is very hush-hush about it. And also, why were you doing freelance work for other groups if you were part of this? Like, there's a lot of questions we have. So, but obviously, Sakamoto, Zhao Ting, and Shin had to play coy moment. Sakamoto's wife and daughter showed up, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, no, it's part of the performance. Like, he wanted to show us like one of his escape acts afterwards. And so, yeah, we came over here to watch. She's like, oh, that's cool. And Sakamoto's daughter Hannah being like the most adorable thing ever. And being like, oh yeah, like let's go eat lunch. I helped make lunch and stuff like that. So they're about to leave. And Shin leaves Tatsu alive. He's like, you're not going to kill me? He's like, no, we're just here to enjoy the amusement park. Here, I'm going to give you your knife back. Just leave us alone. And then Hannah comes back over and being like, and gives him a Band-Aid because, he fought in a performance. And she's like, in case you're hurt or whatever, here you go. Bye-bye. You put on a great performance. That was so cool. And it's super adorable. And obviously for Tatsu, it's like, oh, these weirdos. It's like that. I'm sure that's not that common, obviously, in their line of work. But we get introduced to two more assassins from the same organization, that being Boiled and, was it Obiguro? And they end up being a bunch of chuckleheads. I love that like Hard Boiled's like whole situation. It's just him being no, it's not Hard Boiled. That's the name of the episode, but his name is just Boiled. And he's just like, hey. And he's telling her to watch her feet because he's like, oh, there's a whole bunch of ants. He's like, his whole motto is only kill the target, not anything else outside of that. And she's like, oh my God, he's so hot. And he's like, hey. And she's like, what? And he's like, if your feet start hurting, let me know. She's like, oh my God, he's so sweet. I love that because they are kind of partners. I wonder is it going to be one of those situations where like they do eventually get together? It doesn't seem like they're together. It seems like, hey, we just work together. We're just kind of a nice duo. But I wonder, is it going to be a thing of he's completely unaware of the fact that she's super into him because she finds like his whole shtick great. Because she's just like, oh my God, he's so amazing. He's so hot. He's so this and that. I love it. And obviously, Shin's kind of out of commission when it comes to his telepathy, so he can't read anyone, approaching them, with ill intent. But they have to be on guard, especially because Sakamoto's wife is like, are you guys hiding something from me? And they're like, no, of course not. We're so excited to be here. Of course, let's go have fun. And Sakamoto had to shake his head like, yeah, everything's great. And she's like, oh, okay, good. I guess I was reading too much into it. I was like, oh God, I love it. I just love that being the shtick of like how much you're going to hide from your wife. It's like, should you explain everything? But it's like, you're not killing anyone. It's self-defense, but he also wants his wife and daughter to enjoy it. But he's also going to he's probably worried that like if she finds out the truth, she's going to assume like, oh, the reason why they're after you now is because of something you did. But I mean, you got to trust your wife a little more. She'll probably be like, okay, I trust you. Who knows? It might be ever since she made that clear back when they were dating, it might be a thing of he's been paranoid ever since. And so he's scared to ever bring up anything tied to his past, like even if it's present day, like, oh, this could endanger our family. Like, I'd rather, because it's like the easiest thing to do is just protect you and make sure you don't get dragged into it. And I keep my promise to our family rule of like not killing anyone. So for him, it's probably like, I want to have my wife and my daughter to have peace of mind to enjoy a peaceful life and also want to be able to enjoy that life with him. So I'm just going to not lie to him, just admit the truth about what's going on around him. Eventually she's going to find out the truth, I can only assume, but we'll have to wait to see. But yeah, they're going around the amusement park having fun. It's like, well, we're in a wide open space. There's nothing we have to worry about. Assassins coming at us. And then they're going inside of a haunted mansion. It's like, well, that sucks because this is like an assassin-friendly environment. So I love that whole sequence. I even love, like, I didn't know if those were real because the zombies coming out of nowhere attacking them. I thought that was a little weird. I was like, are those actual performers? It's like, nah, the guy came at Shin with a knife, and then Sakamoto pieced him up really quickly. And I love like Shin being like, oh my God, Mr. Sakamoto, like, the fact of the matter is you did that. You acted scared and then took him down in such a way that it wasn't in your wife's view. He's like, oh, you're so amazing. And at the same time, you have Zhao Ting over there who's a puddle of a person because she doesn't do scary stuff. Everyone else is having fun. Everyone else is on pins and needles, worried about like, we got to be very like mindful and keeping an eye out on this whole situation. And here she is, kind of a mess. Ultimately, drinking, like her remedy, the moment that got brought up, I was like, is that alcohol? And lo and behold, we find out it's alcohol. And her whole, what type of martial arts did she do? Is it Tai Chi? Like, but the moment she was doing, like, knowing, like, well, you've got that, and I was like, are we getting, like, a Drunken Master type approach? My brain didn't even think about the movie Drunken Master with Jackie Chan. Isn't that the movie? I'm sure there's, like, an older version of it, but, like, I know there, like, the Jackie Chan movie from, like, was that the late 90s, early 2000s? But obviously, the thing that immediately went to my mind was, like, oh, yeah, like, Rock Lee's fight in, oh, God, what was it? The Sasuke retrieval arc, where he was fighting that guy drunk. That's immediately where my mind went. So I was like, oh, that's definitely going to be interesting to see how different of a fighter she is when she's drunk. I mean, understandably, she needed some liquid courage to get over everything. But we also find out Boiled and Sakamoto have history, because at first he was talking about like, yeah, I'd stare at this scar, reminds me of the past, and it's like, oh my God, did he give you that scar? He's like, no, it's from me falling the other day. It's almost like, then why are you bringing up the scar, making it seem like it had any connection to Sakamoto? But we find out their past. We see them when they were teenagers, which that's anime for you, making teenagers look like fully grown adults, because that was Sakamoto at 14 and Boyle at 16. I'm like, you look like 20-year-olds. Like, but that's how animes and manga go about drawing characters sometimes. But I love that Sakamoto never said anything, but Boyle's the one that talked all the time, and they hung out. I was like, are you guys actually hanging out, or Sakamoto just treating it like you're tagging along, running your mouth, and he's just laissez-faire about it? And it turns out it's the latter, because he's talking about like, oh, like all these girls, Valentine's Day. He's like, you and me, Sakamoto, we're two of a kind. The fact of the matter is, we're not going to get caught up in that. And then because they are technically at like an assassin school of sorts, girls come over being like, oh my god, like they want, like, what was one of them said, like, we took a shell casing or something as a mold for like a 44 Magnum shell, use that as molding for like the chocolate or whatever. You're just like, oh my god. And like, I mean, there's animes built around that type of thing of assassins at a school and stuff like that. So I'm curious, will we ever dive into that? Probably not. There'll probably be flashback things that might include stuff like this. But yeah, just like how everyone's just giving him chocolate. He's like, oh, he's such a heartthrob at the school. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's Sakamoto. He's so great. He's so amazing. He's so handsome. And then, like, obviously, at first I was wondering if Boyle's issue was going to be like, oh, he got all the girls' attention. It's that, but also when it came down to it, because Nagumo shows up being like, oh, here's even more chocolate. This is from the, oh, God. It was from a very specific class, because he was like, I did not give you any candy that was given to you from, like, the girls of the poison class. And it's like, oh, but who's that guy that's with you? And Sakamoto was like, I have no idea. And he was like, if you want to, you could have all that chocolate that's over there. And it's like, that's what Boyle was upset about. And even Obiguro was like, is that why he has beef with Sakamoto? But he was like, no, forget it. I've moved on. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, it kind of is, as we see later on. He bothers bringing it up. So it was much more of a scar than he led on. So he was definitely bothered by it a lot more than he led on. So we also never saw where Tatsu ended up, because those two caught up to Tatsu when he was like in the bathroom, because he's like, I'm gonna go on one more ride and I'm gonna bounce. But they're like, yeah, the organization's gonna come after you and kill you. They'll give you the axe in more ways than one. And he kind of talks about how deadly these two are. I guess there was kind of like an assassin's battle or hitman battle royale, and these two ended up killing like 100 people. So it's like they come off goofy and silly, but they are deadly. So, but that's the last time we see Tatsu. So I don't know if he's off doing his own thing, waiting to strike in the aftermath of their fights with Sakamoto and his squad, or whether just he decided to bounce. I'm curious. But our squad gets swarmed by zombies. And this was I'll kind of bring up earlier. I was like, aren't these just paid actors? But it's like, well, the guy coming at with a knife at Shin, it's like, these are all people part of all of this. So I was like, okay, the easiest way to get, assassins and stuff like that on your side is just to kind of blend them into the have them spread out throughout the entire haunted house / mansion thing. So everyone gets separated. Shin and Xiaoting end up being with Sakamoto's wife and daughter, who luckily are okay, but kind of knocked out. I think it also benefits the fact is that Boyle's got his rule of like going after only the targets, and Obikuro, I think because she likes him, is willing to follow his rules. They're interesting because obviously he's very set in his ways. He's very like, I'm a weirdo and I'm the way I am, but I'm very steadfast in my beliefs. She seems like she's the one that's kind of her whole like liking everything about Boyle shows that she's kind of got weird kinks and quirks, and we see that kind of come out in the way she fights too, because she's like, ooh, I could kill you guys easily, but I want you to do something that gives me chill. She's all about the excitement of things, and she's got, like I said, her little weird quirks. And I love that she's fighting Zhao Ting, and it's like, cool, we have Shin over here. You have this, I'm giving you this little hourglass. Every 10 seconds, you have to hit me every 10 seconds, I guess, to kind of restart it and make sure that Shin's okay. But if you don't, he's going to leave here in pieces. And I love that Zhao Ting just breaks down, being like, I can't do that. That's impossible for me. And it's like, wow, she's an emotional drunk. So I'm like, okay. that's going to be interesting to see how that situation fares out. But then we also have Boyle versus Sakamoto, and he's piecing up Sakamoto. He has these little balls that he's able to shoot around and make them explode. So it's like I can ricochet them all over the place, so I can attack you from any angle. He could also ignite them to kind of like the kind of almost gauntlet like things he's using. He can propel them to like boost his strength and also cause explosions too. So it's kind of got the long distance covered, and even in close quarters, like every mid to close quarters combat is kind of easy for him. I think it probably could still be utilized even very long distance as well. But if Sakamoto keeps getting hit by everything, and Sakamoto keeps being like, I don't remember you, I don't remember you, which even I guess to make himself feel better and not be as hurt, Boyle just like, well, I don't remember much about you either. It's like, shut up, you do. You've referenced and talked about Sakamoto like 3 times, like you guys got deep history, but you don't. I mean, I think despite everything, he still hung around Sakamoto maybe post that, or maybe it was pre all of that. But because at one point we see him sitting around with Sakamoto and Nagumo, that I'm like, okay, so I don't know if that was before the whole Valentine's thing or afterwards. So I wonder if the Valentine's thing was like the last time he hung around Sakamoto, but who knows. But he had explained how his weapons were, and I love the entire time Sakamoto's like, cringy. Everything this guy does is cringy, and naming like his like balls, like what is it, like SBP or SBB? It's just like the acronyms and names he comes up with stuff. So Sakamoto remembers seeing, and I guess it just shows you how good his memory is. And despite everything, it's something he looked at like probably at least over a decade ago. He saw like the chemical components for his weapons, and so it came to mind the moment he was fighting him. And in that moment, it seems like Sakamoto got knocked out. Of course, I mean, it's meant to be like, oh, like what's going to happen? It's like, well, obviously he's going to get back up and win because Sakamoto is our main protagonist. He's tough as nails. There's no way he's going to lose against kind of early, lower level assassins at this point in the story. But then Sakamoto shows up and he's slim again. You're like, interesting. So speaking of Naruto, because I referenced Drunk Lee early on, this kind of gave me Choji vibes. So I wonder, how does that operate? Like, can he just naturally control his weight? Or does he have something like similar to Choji? Because Choji had medicine, like he had things he would eat that could basically, converge his weight into chakra. So I'm wondering if Sakamoto, like, is it just something he can naturally do, or does he need certain conditions met to do it? Because part of me now wonders, like, oh, is he big on purpose? Is it him kind of basically keeping reserve energy in place in case he needs to ever go fully all out? I mean, maybe he also does it because it's like maybe going all out is too much. Maybe maybe it takes too much of a strain on his body, so he needs to bulk up and then burn all that energy at once. It's kind of like a quick, like a fire burning bright and then burning out. Maybe that's how that works. I don't know. I'm curious to see how that works. Like, is it a thing of when this is all said and done, he'll immediately plump up again, or does he need to eat to plump himself up again, just for the purposes? Another example, anime wise, it would probably be similar to, it's like, it's not as much a thing now, but at one point in time when Luffy's Gear Second happened, when he would use that, he had to keep food in his pockets because it burns so much of his, like, he'd get extremely hungry because it burns through your stamina because your body's running at such fast. He's like, doing all that takes its toll on your body, so you need to kind of fill back up. So I'm wondering if it's kind of like that for, what are we going to find out? It's always been like that for Sakamoto. It's just people only ever saw him skinny. So maybe this has always been a tactic of his, or maybe it's just something that's come up post him retiring. I'm so curious. Because I feel like Shin would have probably brought it up considering they work together and he's such a fan. So either it's a thing of no one knows and he's kept that super low key, or like I said, it's a recent development for whatever reason. So I'm curious to find out the mechanism behind that, like how that works and why he does that and the aftermath of it. Just I'm curious to find that out and obviously see the conclusion of this fight and see how this whole day at the amusement park plays out. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.